Take a moment. What would you feel if you woke up tomorrow and couldn't hear the voice of your government? This is no longer a hypothetical question. The US government has been shut down for 38 days. People are unpaid, cities are silent, and the system seems to be holding its breath. Yes, this isn't just a crisis. This is the moment when the rules of the game are changing. Everyone is talking about Schumer's solution plan, but behind the scenes, something else is happening. Donald Trump is preparing his boldest political move yet. This isn't just about reopening the government. This is a test of who is truly ready to shape America's future. In Washington, the atmosphere is tense. Federal workers are standing in line at food banks. Air traffic controllers can't afford gas to get to work, and flight delays are piling up across airports. People sitting in front of their screens are no longer listening to the news. They're looking into each other's eyes and asking, who's actually in charge of this country? Schumer speaks in the Senate, his voice calm but calculated. He says, "We can reopen the government immediately if Republicans agree to extend health care subsidies for 1 year." From the outside, it sounds like a reasonable proposal. But in politics, every reasonable word hides a trap. Behind Schumer's words lies an ultimatum: accept our terms or the chaos continues. Trump, however, thinks differently. He doesn't see this as a fight. He sees it as an opportunity. The moment the government stops, he begins to question the system itself. Why does every decision take years? Why do thousands suffer just because politicians can't agree? With these questions, he's touching not only the nerves of the people, but the very foundation of the system. Washington has been operating under the same rules for decades: filibusters, procedures, endless debates. But now Trump says, maybe the rules of the game no longer work. Just saying that is dangerous for the system, because he's not asking for a single decision. He's trying to change the pace of the entire game. Every crisis hides an opportunity. Sometimes it doesn't take a bullet to shake a system, only a bold idea. And now, that idea is shaking the walls of Washington. Because the question is simple, yet sharp. Is America ready to change? Sometimes in politics, the most dangerous weapon isn't words, it's silence. In the corridors of Washington, everyone is talking, but few truly understand what's happening. Trump's team is working quietly behind the scenes. For them, this shutdown isn't just a crisis. It's an opportunity to shake a system that has been built for decades. The filibuster, yes, that famous rule requiring 60 votes, is no longer a break for Trump. It's a target. He's thinking, why not 51 votes? Why not be a little braver? These questions are now spreading through the veins of the entire system. The Democrats, on the other hand, are both angry and afraid, because they too have been prisoners of the same rule for years, but none have dared to break it. Trump simply says, we either change or this system will rot. Meanwhile, the air in the Senate is cold, speeches are long, words are repetitive, but behind the scenes, the clock keeps ticking. Each passing day adds more tension in airports. TV anchors keep asking, how long will this go on? And there are no answers. Schumer speaks, saying, we are accountable to the people. But people no longer listen to his voice. They feel their own problems instead. The rent is unpaid. Credit card debts are piling up. Children stand in lunch lines at school. Amid all this, Trump's silence sounds louder than words. He says nothing, yet everyone waits for his next move. Trump is framing the situation not as a negotiation, but as a condition. If the rules slow us down, let's change the rules. At first, it sounded like mere provocation, but now even some Republicans are beginning to think about it. The question, maybe the filibuster really doesn't work anymore, is starting to whisper through the party. And for Democrats, that's a nightmare scenario, because the filibuster is their only shield. Without it, Trump can pass any law he wants with just 51 votes. Tax reform, immigration, healthcare, everything. And for Democrats, that doesn't mean fast change. It means fast defeat. But here's the interesting part. Democrats once wanted to abolish this rule too. They've also hit the same wall and stopped. So the problem isn't in the rule itself, but in who's using it. Trump understands that perfectly, and now he's building a political game on that very idea. If you wanted it too, why are you afraid now? That's his message. Meanwhile, Democrats boast about their wins in Virginia, New York, and New Jersey, but in reality, those are not victories, just attempts to catch their breath. They won in their own strongholds. Among the public, trust is fading. In polls, when asked, who leads the Democratic Party, the most common answer is, we don't know. Kamala Harris comes second with 16%, Schumer has 7%, Hakeem Jeffries around 7% as well. In other words, there is no real leader. On the other side, love him or hate him, Trump stands as the compass. He speaks, and the party listens. He sets direction, and everyone follows. That kind of order makes him dangerously powerful. If one side is chaos and the other is discipline, who wins? History always gives the same answer. Order is stronger than chaos. Washington is now at a moment where that balance is breaking. Schumer thought he was winning when he presented his plan, but for Trump, this is just the beginning. His vision goes much further, not about one year's politics, but the fate of an entire system. At this point, the audience is no longer watching the news. They're watching a story unfold. Because this isn't just a clash between Republicans and Democrats, it's a clash of two philosophies. One says, move slowly, but stay stable. The other says, break the rules, but get results. And this battle isn't only happening in the Senate. It's happening in people's homes, in front of their screens, across social media. And everyone is asking the same question. Maybe it really is time to change the rules of the game. In politics, sometimes you don't need to watch television to see the truth. You just need to walk through the streets and look into people's faces, because there's always a gap between what appears on screens and what's real. That gap has grown very wide in America. Cities like Chicago, once considered the showcase of democratic values, now openly reveal how the system is cracking. Protesters in the streets, lines of police, municipal debts, and disappointed people. Everywhere, the same question echoes. Why does this politics exist? Who does it work for? The city's mayor, Brandon Johnson, seems to love podiums more than his own city. He gives speeches at the UN about human rights, but in his city, people are unemployed, families are hopeless, and the streets are unsafe. People see this and can hardly believe it's happening in a country called America. Trump, however, reads this picture very well. He understands that the old rules of the system have already lost their meaning in the eyes of the people. People no longer want committee meetings and procedural proposals. They want results, and Trump turns that desire into his rhetoric. If the system doesn't work, why should we keep protecting it? This simple sentence creates a resonance among millions, because people already feel like victims of this system in their own lives. The government is shut down, yet no one seems to take responsibility. Federal workers stand in food bank lines, air traffic controllers are unpaid, children wait in school lunch lines. Amid all this chaos, politicians throw questions at each other on television. Who's to blame? But this time, the answer isn't a single name. The answer is the system itself. The Democrats, meanwhile, are trying to manage the chaos on one hand and to find a leader within themselves on the other. But they can't. Because the party no longer unites around a single idea. One group wants to keep the filibuster, another wants to abolish it. One side seeks compromise, the other seeks attack. This duality has become their weakest point. Their voters feel this confusion too. Once, the Democratic Party was the voice of change. Now it has become the voice of fear. They are no longer trying to stand up to Trump. They are trying to protect themselves. And here lies the paradox. The Republicans are united around one leader, while the Democrats are lost among many. Schumer, Kamala Harris, Hakeem Jeffries, each speaks in their own direction, but none provides direction. The most common question asked is, who leads this party? And most of the time, the answer is silence. Trump turns that silence into strength. He knows that leadership is sometimes not about plans, but about courage. In Washington, everyone avoids risk. He runs toward it. People feel this difference, and maybe for the first time, they see someone in politics who isn't afraid. That image, right or wrong, makes him a real leader. And that's what the Democrats have lost. They try to be cautious, but people no longer want caution. They present plans, but people want results. They protect the rules, but Trump wants to change them. Every voter, whether Democrat or Republican, now asks themselves the same question. Maybe it's time to try a different approach. Even though the government remains shut down, minds are opening. People are no longer analyzing what they see on TV. They're analyzing what they live through every day. They now understand that this fight isn't between individuals. It's a fight between a country's past and its future. One says, breaking the rules is dangerous. The other answers, if we don't break the rules, nothing will ever change. And this dialogue is now quietly taking place all over the country. Sometimes in a cafe, sometimes in an office, sometimes on social media. But one idea is slowly taking shape. The old system no longer wants to work. People feel it in their own lives, and that feeling is stronger than politics. Now we have reached the most intense stage of the game. Trump no longer hides his intentions. His plan sounds simple, but its outcome could change the entire political order. The abolition of the filibuster, This is not just a technical adjustment. It's like taking off the system's seatbelt. For years, this rule has slowed down politics, sometimes frustrated it, but at the same time, it has kept the country stable. Now Trump says, if you're leading, lead completely. Hiding behind rules is cowardice. Some Republicans greet this idea with admiration, others with fear, because this move demands both power and responsibility. But Trump thinks differently. He knows that the people no longer want caution, they want action. If the system doesn't work, don't be afraid to change it. That's his new motto. His team believes the people are ready. They have heard the same promises for years, yet nothing has changed in their lives. Now Trump is offering them rapid change. This inspires both hope and fear. The Democrats are in panic. They understand that if the filibuster disappears, Trump's plan will operate at full speed. Border reforms, tax laws, the healthcare system, judicial appointments, all will pass one after another. No delays, no compromises, no debates, only decisions and results. For some, this finally means a functioning government. For others, it means a system beginning to collapse at high speed. Because speed changes everything. When everything moves faster, mistakes grow just as quickly. Trump says, slowness kills, but critics warn, sometimes slowness protects. This is now the balance being debated across the entire country, between efficiency and safety. Trump's supporters say that this nation is tired of talking, and it's time to do. His opponents fear that this doing will burn down democratic mechanisms. Yet Trump's core argument is powerful. Why not be a little brave? Maybe this system doesn't serve us. Maybe we serve the system. He breaks an illusion for the people, the illusion that rules protect them, but sometimes the rules actually build a wall against them. He wants to tear that wall down. This idea resonates emotionally with ordinary people because they already feel its pain in real life. Inflation, medical costs, taxes, delays in decisions, and every delay takes a piece of their money, patience, and hope. Trump seems to be the only voice expressing that pain. He says, if the rules oppress the people, the rules must change. This sentence is both revolutionary and dangerous, because changing the rules means changing the nation's order itself. The old faces of Washington are horrified by this thought. They know that the system's friction, its slowness, its debates, is sometimes the only mechanism preventing chaos. But Trump sees it differently. In his view, the system's slowness is the enemy of progress. This country is governed at a 200-year-old speed, while the 21st century moves fast. Adapt or disappear, he says. His words resonate among the public because everyone feels the same thing in their own lives, the exhaustion of waiting. It takes years for laws to pass, decades for reforms to happen. But people want change now. Trump turns their exhaustion into his weapon. Yet, like every rapid change, this one is risky. History shows that nations that change their rules too fast lose their stability the next day. But history also shows that nations that never change eventually freeze. Now America is walking between these two dangers, and Trump's plan is not just politics. It's a test to measure how ready the people are for change. Because this time, it's not about which party wins. This time, it's about choosing between a fast government and a safe democracy. Sometimes the collapse of a system doesn't happen with noise. It simply happens the day people stop believing in it. The United States is now at that point. The government is still shut down, but the door of the people's patience has already opened. Everyone understands that this debate is no longer about delayed paychecks, airports, or tax laws. It's about whether a country has lost its very spirit of governance. Trump and his team know this very well. They believe that a nation afraid of change will one day be left behind. If the system is old, there's no point in protecting it. Trump has said this many times, but this sentence carries both strength and chaos, because every rule has a reason. The filibuster, that slow decision-making mechanism, was once a safety cushion. It protected the country from the mistakes that come with too rapid changes. But now the question is, maybe that cushion puts us to sleep instead of keeping us awake. If a system no longer serves the people, maybe keeping it alive is the greater mistake. These questions now circle through the minds of millions of Americans, and that's exactly why Trump's message resonates. He offers people a new kind of energy. Stop thinking, start doing. This call inspires many, but scares others, because speed always increases the risk of mistakes. Yet those who change history are never the ones who move slowly. The old faces of Washington still talk about order, procedural rules, historical stability, bipartisan tradition. But the people no longer listen to those words. They live their own reality: rising prices, unemployment, bureaucracy, endless debates. They want concrete results, and that is Trump's greatest weapon, turning the people's patience into his strategy. The Democrats, meanwhile, are still stuck inside a single question. Should we protect the system or rebuild it? They have no answer. Schumer speaks in the Senate, but no one listens anymore, because people want decisions, not speeches. America is at a turning point. On one side, there is speed, on the other, stability. One says, act now. The other says, step carefully. Both paths carry risk, because too rapid a change can burn the system, and too slow a change can rot it. History shows that nations make the greatest changes when they're closest to danger, and America is right there now. This period may one day be written in history books as a moment of rebirth. But what kind of birth, renewal, or collapse, no one knows yet. Trump says, we are writing history. Schumer replies, we are protecting the rules. But those who protect history have never written it. Only those who break it have. That's why this fight isn't just political, it's philosophical. And now, every American, whether Democrat or Republican, is making a personal choice. To live within the rules, or to rebuild the game from scratch. The government's doors will reopen someday, but this debate will last for years. Because right now, everyone has the same thought circling in their minds. Maybe this system no longer serves us. Maybe by protecting it, we're only protecting our own comfort. Maybe it really is time to change everything. There are many questions, but still no single answer. And maybe that's exactly what Trump wants. To leave people without answers, to make them think. Because uncertainty is the first stage of change. Now the decision belongs to the people. Will they choose silence for the sake of stability, or risk for the sake of change? History never stays silent. Whoever decides, writes it. So who will write it this time? Trump, Schumer, or the people themselves? Share your thoughts below. Yes, you, the one watching right now. Because this story's ending won't be written by politicians, but by us. And maybe, just maybe, this time, everything really will change.